Kuwait, with a population of scarcely 300,000, takes in close to $3 million a day in oil royalties. Not that these millions are allowed to trickle down, but to raise the standard of living of the people, of the Fellahin or the Bedouins. Instead, oil has brought in its wake a new biblical curse. It has raised the price of human flesh. Storage tanks and pipelines add a new and modern decorative touch to the vast emptiness of the desert. But they provide no sustenance for the people who live nearby, in hunger and misery and desperation. Water is precious, and the camel is precious. And to give the camel a rest now and then, water is drawn by slaves. These girls, 10 to 12 years old, are blindfolded to keep from getting dizzy as they take turns with a camel. The most modern equipment available is used to extract oil from thousands of feet below the surface of the earth. But water must be drawn by the effort of human slaves. For luckier children, there are model schools inside the palaces. The pupils pray before lessons begin. We are permitted to film the pupils as they come out of the royal school. More than 100, we are told, are children of the sovereign himself. Following them are the children of the princes and high dignitaries. They're clean, well-disciplined, happy children. But note that some of them do not carry books. These are children of the oil rich. Their books are carried by their personal slaves. Slaves received as gifts from their parents on their birthdays. Slaves who will grow up alongside their masters and serve as their personal gods. Most of these are children of palace slaves, and according to the law, they too are slaves. The oil millions turn into automobiles from Detroit, parking lots, and traffic cops who direct traffic straight toward the desert. We travel along the edge of the Sahara to reach the Peuls, a pastoral people once numerous and powerful, now reduced to a few thousand by mass raids of slave merchants early in this century. They no longer have any cattle of their own. The great herds they lead to pasture are owned by Arab merchants, and the Peuls are so impoverished that they willingly offer themselves in slavery to the owners of these herds. But since they cannot all be taken, the young shepherds show their masters which are the strongest and most courageous among them by submitting to flagellation. The herd owners gaze impassively on the scene, enjoying vicariously the sadistic action before them, and knowing that the strongest will survive. And the survivors smile and smile and pretend to ignore the pain. They fall on their knees and beg their Arab masters to accept their services. West to east, across the heart of Africa to Arabia. This is the great highway of slavery. Across these desert trails, we took our cameras for thousands of miles in search of secret caravans. The governments of the young African republics are doing everything in their power to wipe out the slave trade. Every day, military units on camels check the border zones. They pursue the caravans and examine the documents of the desert buses. Any of these may be engaged in the slave trade. On the border of Chad and the Sudan lies Fada, the base from which the camel patrols set out. Helicopters keep watch along the border. And we have been permitted to accompany the police on one such inspection. Yesterday, pilots spotted several caravans heading toward the wells of Kairouan, the only wells within a radius of 200 miles. All caravans leaving Chad to enter the Sudan must stop there to take on water after checking in at Fada. One caravan that suspiciously avoided Fada has moved into the throat of Kairouan, a bottleneck deep in the mountains of Enedi. Water surging from the springs here cannot evaporate because the high mountain walls keep out the sun's rays. We reach our objective. There is no escape from the throat of Kairouan. It is a dead end. At first, this caravan looks like any other moving from place to place. Camels line up for a drink. Bedouins sit motionless, impassive. The police approach with their interpreter and get permission to search the merchandise. The interpreter notices an odd-shaped bundle with a canvas cover. Where were they taking these children? What market were they headed for? The slave dealers won't talk. The children don't know. So the police are unable to find out, and they lose a possible chance of closing off one more market in human beings. A government official gives us an interview on the subject of slavery. I can assure you, he says, that slavery does not exist in my country. The first official act of my government when it came into power was to draw up stringent laws against slavery. But our country is large, very large. Look at the extent of our borders. Our army and our police do everything in their power to patrol them. But it does happen that the law is violated on occasion. Can you tell me of a single country in the world in which the law is never violated? But here the law may be violated too often.